Welcome to Chaos Pie, where we serve up sweet slices of pandemonium in just 15 minutes. Every day, you deal with the chaos of the reality of business, and you make decisions in a changing and uncertain environment. Chaos Pie is here to make your business life clearer, your decisions easier, and make you laugh while learning how. I'm Brian, and later in the show, I'll say something idiotic, and Garrison will make fun of me in an equally idiotic way. But first, let's talk about today's topic, which is... Wait, I'm going to change the topic.
No, are you changing the topic now?
No, because the topic has changed, but we can't change the topic.
The topic has changed, all right.
Yes. The topic is change and change management and things that change and how people adjust to change and how things that change and, you know, what we do about it.
Let me understand clearly. The topic has changed. Okay, good.
Wait, is that what I said?
Well, you said change 43 times. I'm assuming that's the topic.
I think it
is the topic.
I think it is. Which, includes everything from innovation and technology and, computers. Computers have changed things. And
they have.
Social media and Facebook and Twitter.
Well, do you think that I don't think you have to have big change. I think you can have like a little change. And like innovation is just a small thing. I remember years ago there was this strip mall. And a strip mall is like, there's no strippers involved. It's like a building that has different companies,
mall,
right?
Yeah, it's a strip of mall.
And there were 3 furniture companies in there. And one was a small one in the middle and 2 big ones on the end. And the big ones would advertise, we've got Italian furniture, we have free delivery, they advertise. They got balloons going and all this stuff, because they were big and had big budgets. The little one couldn't really compete very well. And one day, the little store had an idea. And all it was a little sign they put right over there that just said main entrance. Yeah. You know what I mean? So people thought that was where you went to the entire. They thought it was one big furniture store, they ended up buying the thing out and were very successful. So I think a change can be. We think of change as big and sweeping and giant, but it can be like a little idea or a little thing that has big impact.
That's a great positioning story, right? They really position themselves as the entrance to the bigger store. So
that's exactly right.
Come see us first before even saying come see us before you try the other people. Check out our prices first. Yeah, and you know what? Strip malls have changed too. Like I noticed that a strip mall initially includes something like a Target or a Kmart, and then that goes out of business, and then it becomes something horrible, and then the next thing it becomes is a church.
Wait, I want to know what was horrible. It was Kmart, something horrible, and church. Like
I have
Kmart
a picture.
And what? Kmart and karate
There's
with a buffet?
What? It gets weird. It gets weird for a while between the Target and the church. Like I saw one the other day that said, it was so weird that I had to take a picture of it. It was like, it said International Sweepstakes and Coffee House. That's what it said. It was the weirdest thing
What?
Yeah. It didn't make any
Sweepstakes
sense.
and coffee house. What does that mean?
It doesn't make any sense.
Sweepstakes are like you're drinking coffee. You may have already won $50,000.
Like you walk in and there's a sweepstakes for walking in. I don't know. I was too scared to go in.
Was Ed McMahon involved at any level at all with this thing?
No, I don't think so. Is he still alive?
No. I have no. Actually, the truth is I really don't know. I'm sure he's not. But I have no idea.
Well, and so that's how a small store in a mall took advantage of positioning to change things. But how does change happen to us? And what do you usually say to companies that are dealing with issues with change?
Well, I think a couple things. Number one is that the number one reason that an individual doesn't want to change inside of a company is because nobody wants to be a senior beginner. Nobody wants to wake up in the morning and realize what they used to know is no longer valid, so they shoot holes in the new way and cling to the old way because it makes them smart.
Yeah.
And there's a whole change management concept that never works. Everybody gather around for the change management meeting. Let's talk about the new way. First of all, the old way was bad. It was just bad. It just didn't work. It was just bad. The new way is good because it's new and it's scalable, and it starts to name all these change management terms. And the reason it doesn't work, but people go, I don't care. I don't like new. I like old. I've been here for 40 years. I like to put white out on the computer screen and do it the old damn way because I'm old.
Right.
That's the truth. Nobody wants to be a senior beginner. What works statistically and consistently in companies is, okay, let's talk about the new way. First of all, the old way must have worked. We did it for like 30 years, so clearly it had some value. Let me show you what you already know about the old way and how that can help you with the new way. Let me show you how your existing knowledge will help you with the new way. And once they realize that what they already know is going to help them, you show them the similarities first and then the differences second. Now that you realize that your existing knowledge is going to help you the new way, let me show you, some cool stuff. And it's the same old features and benefits. It's the same change stuff. But when people believe that their existing knowledge is going to work, then they'll do it. Because, the number one thing that people value is feeling valuable. That's the number one thing. And people who feel valuable, they're more loyal. They statistically make fewer mistakes. They're more likely to, honor agreements. And people need to know what they already know is valuable in order to really move through change. So that's what we see that works in corporations.
Well, it makes sense to me. I think you need to identify the principles that have worked over time. And you know what I've noticed, because I deal a lot with these things that have changed, like Google and Facebook and all that stuff, and how much it's changed what we're doing on the computer over the last 10 or 15 years, right? And you can come in like a geek and talk about all this stuff, like you said, with scalable or frictionless or whatever. Right. And you're really just trying to baffle people with BS. But the fact is, it hasn't changed, right? Like, the things that we do on Facebook for marketing are exactly the same thing we've done with direct mail or with TV or whatever. So I always connect people. I say, look, people put their ad on a bus stop. People put their company name on a pen. Why'd they do that? They wanted awareness. So you get on Facebook, you get awareness amongst all these people. So that's one principle that hasn't changed. But I think one thing that maybe has changed, tell me if I'm wrong about this, is the speed of change.
I'm sorry. Not yet? Okay. Did I do
haven't changed.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just jumped
in. You haven't changed. You always tell me I'm wrong.
I'm sorry. You said tell me that you're wrong, and I went right for it.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
but now you lost your train of thought. I ruined the whole show. I'm so sorry.
Yes, you have, but let's recover. I will fix it.
Okay. You'll fix the show?
I will fix the show. I can't fix you because you won't change.
I've changed a lot over the years. I've evolved into whatever this is, but I've evolved.
Yeah.
You were going to say something. I know. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. And
no, what I was going to say was I think that the speed of change has changed. I think that people used to say, I don't know about Google. Let me think about it, and then they decide to do it like 2 years later or 5 years later. And now it's like, let me think about Twitter. But Twitter became a totally different thing within a year or two,
Sure.
It just exploded. And so things like there are these stats about like how long it takes to reach 100 million people or whatever, and each one is going faster than ever. If you think back about the fact that YouTube was not involved in, was it the 2004 election or the 2008 one? I think it was the 2004 one.
I think so. It had to be.
Because it didn't exist in 2005, right?
Right.
And YouTube has become just so fundamental to what people do online now.
I want to develop a much more narcissistic approach, and it's just called MeTube, which is completely different.
Yeah, it has one view on every video. Or like
That's right. It's just me, and of course, and maybe I'll have something on the side just called ThemTube, whatever, those people.
That's called cops and swamp
cops.
people.
That's right.
That's ThemTube. Yeah, do you think things have changed faster and companies have to deal with?
I'm torn because I hear what's being said today. I get it that we believe at some level that change is happening really, really fast, and it's never happened this fast. And I guess that's true, but when you look back in history, things went really fast. Really fast. During World War II, we went from a wooden prop on a plane to a jet, and that happened, in almost in 20 or 30 months. You know what I mean? That's how quickly that was developed. They were working on it for a while, but it wasn't that long. They really weren't. They didn't have They went from trying to build a working jet to actually shooting down planes with a jet, and I believe it was 30 months. So things do happen pretty quickly, and they have happened in history. Sometimes at wartime, some of the manufacturing things that were developed during World War II are amazing. But I think it's need and necessity. I think if we're worried or concerned, if there's a I think the speed of change is driven by a huge need, and I think war is a giant need.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, it's funny too. Like, it makes sense. Certain industries would change at different speeds at different times, and flight and weaponry and all that really changed a lot during the war. But what's you ever look in a cockpit these days, like a commercial plane, and you look in there, there's still a bunch of switches, like it's the original Star Trek deck or something.
Oh, I know. It's just like, and the worst part about it is there's more switches than that one guy can handle. I mean, that is one person should not have that many switches.
What does that switch do? I don't know. I've never touched it.
I've never touched it. Matter of fact, they've told me to never touch these 4 switches. Like, never. I mean, when you look into a cockpit of a plane, it really does. It's scary because it looks like, I've never seen anything that looked like it had that big of a margin for error than a cockpit. So yeah, absolutely, it does.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I know. I think it's interesting. You've brought that up before, or I think things you have said have made me think that too. There's a lot of things that have not changed.
Right.
I think that people who live in San Francisco live in a different world of business than people who live in. I mean, of course, we could say.
Are you going to start to totally offend entire regions of the country again? All right, go ahead.
I have to do that in every episode.
Every episode we totally offend like half the world. But go ahead, Brian.
Well, what I was
people
say is,
what?
I mean, you talk to a lot of different companies and a lot of big companies and medium-sized companies.
Sure.
But there are the companies that make a lot of the news I read about are like Apple or Microsoft or whatever, and there's just thousands of other companies that are still, if we looked at what they were doing, we'd probably think they were still in the 90s or
sure.
Turn of the 21st century.
Well, I mean, the thing that change is tough. Today I actually spoke at the United Airlines sales convention, and they're going through a giant merger. Continental and United merged, and it's tough. I mean, it's very tough to move through that. You move through it pretty quickly, but the change is amazing. I was talking about there's always that part of the change that's terrible. There's always 5 or 6 days in any merger where things are just insane. Like in that 5 or 6 days when things were that bad, I came to the airport, I put my credit card in the kiosk, and a clown face popped up. It's like, really? That's just ridiculous. That's what? And I called in to try to book a flight. They said, I'm sorry, you have so many records, we can't help you. Like, what does that mean? Like, you overflowed our system. So, but that was just 5 or 6 days. And the truth is, it gets better, and things have gotten a lot better for United. But the thing is that when things are changing, what's guaranteed is that bad news will spread fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's going to be messy. It's going to be messy when you change, right?
It's going to be messy, and we forget that sometimes and kind of freak out in the middle of change. Any kind of change, we freak out in the middle of it because bad news is what we're hearing, and what we forget is the fact that we're addicted to bad news. I mean, be honest about bad. Right. You love bad news.
Yeah.
There's a reason the news is bad when you turn on the news, because you can't sell Prozac, with good news. You can't sell cable subscriptions with good news. And be honest with yourself. If you're on the internet clicking around, you saw a news link said life is good, life is great. Would you click that link? No.
Yeah,
if it said headless body found in topless bar, click. That's news. That's right.
Yeah, so that's true. Because I think it's the nature of news is warning, right? So we want to be aware of any danger before it happens to us. And so if United Airlines and Continental are merging, then anything that sounds bad, we want to be aware of that so we don't have a bad flying experience or something.
But you have rumors, though. You have rumors that shoot through the company, and all those rumors are bad. And they're always, at the end, you realize, did we really believe that? That's ridiculous. But in the moment, you do.
Right. People are afraid. I mean, a lot of people have some fears that they keep at bay all the time. Like for example, you hear that statistic about how many people are just one paycheck away from being homeless, right?
Right.
Or people who are afraid to move because they're afraid they won't get a good job, or whatever.
Well, there are people, I think, who firmly believe that the situation they're in now and their circumstances now somehow protects them, that they're kind of like in a cocoon of life, and as long as I don't change what I'm doing, I'll always be better off than if I change.
Right.
And it keeps a lot of people completely stagnant. That is, and we know it's a false belief because